it is time. It is finally time. I am going to read You Dreamed of Empires. This is a very short book that has been on my TBR way too long. And I'm very curious about this one. I'm excited to read it. So, whenever it very first came across my radar, I was under the impression that it was fantasy. And my understanding is there might be like some speculative elements in the story, but it's actually much more either historical or literary fiction than it is fantasy. So I do have like my expectations adjusted before going into this. So Eva Strange read this book, and I'll have her channel linked with like her talking about this book. And she read this and loved it. It was like one of her favorite books the year that she read it. And I am finally getting around to doing it. So now is the time. I'm going to read You Dreamed of Empires. I am 41 pages into You Dreamed of Empires, and I have no idea what's going on or where this is going. But it's kind of entertaining. So the first scene, we have everyone sitting down to dinner, and there's these like priests of the Tenochtitlan. I'm gonna butcher all of these names, and they are like sitting there robed in the flesh of their enemies. Some of Hernan Cortez's men, well, I mean, all of them are just like, oh my gosh, like, this is terrible. How can you sit here and eat like this? Also, it stinks, and they're having trouble like sitting here and enjoying this meal. And like all of the generals or whatever are like, shut up and eat, we're not making a scene right now. And then one of the people is like just basically unable to actually do that. Like every time he's like trying to eat, he's like he can't do that in the presence of this. And then the Tenochtitlan princess is like, you are the only person I trust because you are the only one smart enough to know that this is no fit setting to eat it. So that was amusing. And then we're getting, I guess, like more of the politics and stuff, because we're seeing like the princess and Montezuma's interactions, and we're seeing like Montezuma's interactions with his servants, which is really, I'm a little confused about like where that is going, because like he basically just told his one servant, he's like, oh, by the way, like go tell the people, like, or the military, I don't know, go tell who's ever is in charge of this kind of stuff that you're going to be executed. And then she kind of gives him a hard time and is like, I've lived here my whole life and you don't even know my name. And then like the very next servant he has, like he literally goes to ask the name of that servant. So I guess that had an impact on him. I don't know where that is going. And I don't know how much you can hear my AC right now. Anyway, and then we have the Spaniards wandering around looking for their horses and getting completely lost and turned around in this palace. So, I mean, I don't really know where the story is going, but it's kind of entertaining, And then we have this line at the end of, I'm going to say the segment here on page 41. If there's anything Spaniards and Mexicans have always agreed upon, is that no one is less qualified to govern than the government itself. Yes. So that is where I am in You Dreamed of Empires. I am almost halfway through You Dreamed of Empires. And it's a weird one. But like, I'm kind of enjoying it. There's a lot of just like humorous scenes in this book. We have some of the Spaniards wandering around looking for their horses and getting completely lost. I think they might be under the influence of mushrooms. I think that was in their food. There's like hallucinogens in their food, I think. And they're wandering around the palace looking for their horses, and then they were trying to do things like, oh, we're going to only take right turns, so that way if we have to retrace our steps, we can just turn left all the time. And then they try to retrace their steps, and they're like, these hallways are like way longer or way shorter, and they are not in the same place anymore, and just stuff like that. And then we have so much like I want to say political, I don't want to say maneuvering, but just like understanding of this world. There's very complicated hierarchies in this world. And we do have like at least some political maneuvering, because at least like one of the translators is trying to use her position to advance in society. And we only really saw like one scene that was like from the perspective of the translator, and we kind of like learned some of the translators' motivations, and then we're mostly just following the other characters. But like another funny scene is like Moctezuma is called to this council by the elders, and then he's like, well, I didn't call this council meeting, which one of you called this council meeting? And then one of the elders just starts like preparing his pipe, and he's like, we have to start at the beginning. And then he launches into this like legend of like how the earth was created and all of that, which is like a very long tale. So it's just like taking up everyone's time. So there's just like kind of funny scenes like that. I'm still kind of at the point where like I'm not 100% sure where this is going, but I'm enjoying my time along the way. So that's where I am so far. Okay, I would also like to add there's a fair amount of the, well, I wouldn't say a fair amount of the book, but there's definitely scenes in the book that are talking about these two groups of people that are coming in contact for the first time, and a lot of the tensions that arise from that. And if I have this right, Moctezuma at this point is not planning on sacrificing the Spaniards, which is something that is very common. If they bring outsiders into the city, they are sacrificed. And they had this like parade into the city, which might seem like a celebratory parade, but in some ways it's a celebration for the people, because they get to have feasting and a day off from their labor and everything else, where for the people being, brought into the city to view the city in this parade, they are often sacrificed. So it's not necessarily a positive thing for them. So, and we definitely have like some of the Spaniards are aware that they could be killed at any minute, and they are on edge, on alert for hostile action towards them. We also have like Moctezuma trying to, learn things, glean things from the Spaniards. They brought horses and they have saddles and all of that, and he wants to learn more about them. But we also have like the Spaniards like wanting the riches in the city. So I don't know, I guess this like high tension between them. And so like while there are a lot of these amusing scenes, there's also some tense scenes because of this tension between, I guess, the clash of these two worlds. Okay, just one more thing. So they're at this council meeting where this legend is being told at extreme length. So they're thinking about, or we're getting at least like flashbacks, history of what happened whenever the Spaniards and the indigenous people of Mexico first met. We're getting like, they're hearing rumors of these people in these boats that come, and they're hearing stuff, and then they actually like finally meet them. Well, first they see their ships, and then they finally meet them and all of that stuff. But anyway, here's just another example of like a funny line that this book just like keeps dropping. And I am going to pronounce this name terribly, so do not follow my pronunciation for how to pronounce this stuff. The Cihuacoatl utterly absent from the council meeting at which his body was present, considered what might have happened if he had the sense to listen to the princess. I love that. Utterly absent from the council meeting at which his body was present. It's like he is physically sitting there, but his brain is elsewhere. He is not actually like present at this meeting, but his body's there. It's great. I love it. So anyway, just wanted to give you a little update. I guess while I'm on it, I'll just like talk a little bit more. I've heard, well, and there is like a scene that kind of seems like Moctezuma is getting visions of the future, and I've heard that there are things in this book that are visions or into like the very far future. So like our character might see something modern or something like that. So like I was aware of that going into this book. That said, there are sometimes there's these lines in here, and I don't know if it's because it's translated. But there was a line, like one of the characters said, "when in Rome." And I was like, I don't know if that would have been a phrase that they would know. And then there was another time where like a character was thinking and they were like, "Oh, we're playing good cop, bad cop." And I'm like, that I don't think that was something that they would have said or thought at the time. But this book's a little bit weird, and it's also a translated book. So like I guess like I don't know how much of that is based on translation, is because the book is trying to be modern occasionally because of these like visions of the future and stuff. So anyway, I will get back to reading. I have finished You Dreamed of Empires, and honestly, I think this book is too smart for me. I feel like I've not been able to give like insightful commentary on this book, and I just, it's been a fun time. It's a weird story. It's a very interesting story. I've been drawn into it. I feel like I need to reread it before I give like insightful commentary. Like I don't know what to say other than the ending. The ending was really interesting because like we kind of had like alternative like endings. Like there was like multiple endings to the story, and it was like one way things could happen and then another way things could happen. It was really interesting to read. I had a good time with the story. I would recommend it, but I just like, I'm kind of going, I'm not smart enough to read this. And I also feel like, well, I need to like learn more about history and language and like all of the things that this book was talking about in order to, talk about it insightfully. That said, the Fox Page is another channel here on YouTube, did a deep dive into this story. And I watched it and felt like I learned so much, even though like I read the story and really enjoyed the story and, might have my own insightful things or things that I took away from the story, you could say. I felt like watching that video was so insightful and just seeing what someone else takes from the story as well. So thank you for coming along my reading journey. I would love to discuss this book with you. I feel like this one would be good for discussions. I might get more out of it. If I read it in a book club or something where we have discussions with people. So if you want to chat with me about this book, definitely do so in the comments, and I'll see you in another video. Happy reading.